When Charles Darwin first proposed his theory of evolution by natural selection, it was met with both intrigue and skepticism. Not everyone agreed with Darwin's ideas, partly because they challenged the prevailing views of the time, which were heavily influenced by religious beliefs and the idea that species were unchanging, created in their present form by a divine being. Darwin's suggestion that species could change over time and that all life on Earth shared common ancestry was revolutionary, but it also conflicted with the literal interpretations of religious texts, leading to resistance from some religious leaders and scholars. Additionally, the scientific community was divided. While many scientists were fascinated by Darwin's ideas, others were skeptical because Darwin lacked a clear mechanism for how traits were inherited. The concept of genes and DNA had not yet been discovered, and without understanding how traits were passed from one generation to the next, many found it difficult to fully accept Darwin's theory. Furthermore, Darwin's ideas about natural selection were complex and required long time scales to be fully understood, which contrasted with the more straightforward explanations offered by earlier thinkers. One of the most notable alternative theories to Darwin's was proposed by Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, a French naturalist who had different ideas about how species evolved. Lamarck's theory, known as Lamarckism, suggested that organisms could acquire traits during their lifetime based on their needs and behaviors, and then pass these acquired traits to their offspring. For example, Lamarck believed that giraffes developed long necks because their ancestors stretched their necks to reach leaves high in trees, and this trait was then inherited by subsequent generations. According to Lamarck, the use or disuse of certain traits could lead to physical changes in an organism, which would then be transmitted to its descendants. Lamarck's ideas were appealing because they seemed to provide a direct explanation for the adaptation of organisms to their environments. However, later scientific research, particularly in genetics, disproved the idea that acquired traits could be inherited. The discovery of DNA and the understanding of genetic inheritance showed that traits are passed down through genes, not through behaviors or experiences acquired during an organism's life. Despite this, Lamarck's ideas were influential in the early discussions of evolution and helped to stimulate further inquiry into how species change over time. Scientists often develop different hypotheses based on their observations, and the development of these hypotheses is a key part of the scientific process. Observations of the natural world can lead to different interpretations and explanations, depending on the evidence available and the perspectives of the scientists involved. For example, before Darwin, many naturalists observed that organisms seemed well adapted to their environments, but they differed in their explanations for why this was the case. Some believed in the fixed creation of species, while others, like Lamarck, proposed that species could change through the inheritance of acquired traits. Darwin, on the other hand, observed that variation existed within species and that some individuals were better suited to their environments than others. From these observations, he developed the hypothesis of natural selection, where the environment selects the best adapted individuals to survive and reproduce. The development of such hypotheses often involves gathering extensive data, making careful observations, and considering alternative explanations. Over time, as more evidence is collected and as scientific techniques advance, some hypotheses are supported and refined, while others are rejected. The scientific community's initial skepticism toward Darwin's theory highlights the importance of evidence and testing in science. As new discoveries were made, particularly in genetics and paleontology, more and more evidence supported Darwin's ideas, leading to the broad acceptance of evolution by natural selection as the primary explanation for the diversity of life on Earth. This process of developing, testing, and refining hypotheses is central to scientific progress, allowing our understanding of the natural world to evolve and improve over time.